Why was a single, sparkling glass slipper sitting all alone on top of a soft glowing moss hill at midnight, and whose tiny foot could it possibly belong to? Deep inside the heart of Viridian Forest, where the ancient oak trees whispered secrets to the cool night breeze, the moonlight shimmered like liquid silver across the quiet trails. High above the forest floor, tiny blue fireflies danced in gentle circles, casting a dreamlike glow over the sleeping flowers. The sweet, relaxing scent of night-blooming berries hung lightly in the air, wrapping the entire woods in a warm, cozy blanket of peace. Below the towering branches, the distant, rhythmic chirps of cricketot drifted through the trees, creating a soft lullaby that signaled it was time for all woodland creatures to rest. Tucked snugly inside a hollow wooden log lined with warm, dry leaves, Pikachu lay wrapped in his favorite hand-knitted blanket, feeling the cool night air gently brush against his cheeks. His eyes were heavy, and he was just about to fall into a deep, peaceful slumber when a brilliant beam of light caught his attention. Stepping out into the cool grass, Pikachu squinted through the shadows and noticed something extraordinary resting atop the soft, mossy hill just a few steps away. Right in the middle of the quiet clearing sat a delicate, perfectly crafted glass slipper, glowing with a soft, hypnotic aura that looked like it had been carved from pure starlight. It did not look like anything made by human hands. It sparkled with tiny, swirling constellations that seemed to breathe with magic. Pikachu approached it slowly, his small paws treading silently over the dew-kissed grass. He leaned in close, observing how the starlight bounced off the slipper, throwing tiny rainbows across the surrounding tree trunks. But as he admired the enchanted slipper, a sudden rustle in the nearby bushes made him jump, raising a big question. Who had left such a precious, magical treasure behind in the middle of the night, and why were they in such a massive hurry? Before Pikachu could take another step, the rustling bushes parted, and out trotted his best friend Vulpix, her 6 plush tails swaying softly in the midnight breeze. Her bright amber eyes widened in total astonishment as she spotted the sparkling glass slipper resting on the mossy hill. The two friends leaned in together, their warm breath forming tiny mist clouds in the chilly night air, as they marveled at the swirling starlight trapped inside the crystal shoe. But before they could even guess who it belonged to, a gentle, glowing light descended from the high treetops above. Floating down gracefully on soft pink wings was Clefable, the gentle fairy godmother of Viridian Forest. Her face was filled with deep worry as she hovered just above the grass. Clefable explained that earlier that evening, a wonderful starlight ball had been held in the royal palace deep within the woods, where every Pokémon had gathered to dance and celebrate under the full moon. However, one very special, mysterious guest had to suddenly rush away right as the clock tower began to chime midnight. In her great hurry to get home, she had accidentally left this enchanted glass slipper behind on the hill. Clefable tapped the slipper gently with her stubby hand, pointing out that the soft starlight glowing inside the glass was already starting to flicker and dim. If they could not find the rightful owner and return the slipper before the first rays of the morning sun touched the forest canopy, the magic inside would fade forever, and the glass slipper would turn into ordinary stone. Pikachu and Vulpix looked at each other with determined smiles, knowing they could not let such a magical memory be lost to the night. They promised Clefable that they would help search every corner of the forest until they found the guest who lost it. But with the midnight hour already passing and the vast, dark woods stretching out in every direction, how could two little Pokémon possibly find the one person whose foot fit this tiny, glowing slipper? Before the magic vanished, Pikachu, Vulpix, and Clefable set off into the deep forest, carrying the glowing glass slipper carefully as they began asking their sleeping friends for help. The night air was calm and quiet, filled with the soothing scent of damp pine needles and wild lavender. Their first stop was beneath a giant, spreading pechaberry tree, where a massive Snorlax was sound asleep, snoring softly with a low, rumbling rhythm that made the fallen leaves vibrate on the ground. Pikachu gently tapped Snorlax's tummy, and the giant bear Pokémon slowly opened one sleepy eye, yawning so wide that his ears wiggled. When Clefable showed him the glass slipper, Snorlax smiled warmly and decided to give it a try. He slowly lifted one of his enormous, squishy feet and tried to wiggle his tiny toes inside. But the glass slipper was far too small. Snorlax wobbled back and forth, trying to balance on one leg, until he lost his footing completely and tumbled backward into a towering pile of soft, fluffy pecha berries, with a loud cushioned snurr. Pecha berries flew everywhere, releasing a deliciously sweet, fruity aroma that filled the entire clearing. Pikachu and Vulpix couldn't help but giggle softly at the wholesome sight, while Snorlax simply picked a squished berry off his nose, ate it happily, and settled back down to snooze. Just then, a very confident Psyduck waddled out from behind a glowing mushroom, holding his head with both hands. Psyduck looked at the glass slipper, nodded with absolute certainty, and shoved his webbed foot right into it. But instead of fitting, his foot got completely stuck. Psyduck tilted his head in utter confusion and began waddling in dizzy circles, flapping his small arms frantically as he tried to shake the slipper off. Pikachu quickly stepped in, using a tiny, gentle spark from his rosy cheeks to warm the air around Psyduck's foot, allowing the slipper to slide off safely with a soft pop. Psyduck let out a relieved sigh, rubbed his head, and waddled back into the bushes to rest. After all the silly mix-ups and quiet laughter, Pikachu looked down at the slipper and noticed the starlight inside was pulsing faster and growing fainter. They were running out of time, leading them to wonder, where in this massive, quiet forest was the true owner of the glass slipper hiding? Guided by the faint, warm pulse of the fading glass slipper, Pikachu, Vulpix, and Clefable traveled deeper into a quiet, misty valley near the edge of the forest. Nestled beneath the roots of an ancient willow tree stood a cozy wooden cottage with warm light glowing softly through its small windows. Outside in the yard, an elegant Gardevoir was quietly sweeping up fallen autumn leaves, making sure her peaceful home was neat and comfortable. Her graceful pastel green hair swayed gently in the nighttime breeze, and her deep ruby eyes held a look of gentle kindness. As the trio approached, the midnight mist grew thick, making it difficult to see the stone pathway leading up to the cottage. Pikachu did not use any harsh or bright attacks. Instead, he concentrated a tiny warm glow into his rosy red cheeks, using a soft, harmless flash that acted like a soothing nightlight to illuminate the path without disturbing the sleeping wild birds. Vulpix stepped forward and breathed a warm, gentle will-o-wisp that floated around the glass slipper like a necklace of cozy blue embers, carefully warming the icy crystal so it would feel soft and inviting. Clefable floated down toward Gardevoir, holding out the sparkling slipper with a hopeful smile. Gardevoir paused her sweeping, looking at the glowing shoe with a quiet, emotional wonder. She stepped forward on the soft grass and gently eased her slender foot into the glass slipper. It slid on perfectly, fitting like it had been crafted specifically for her. The instant the shoe settled onto her foot, the faint, flickering starlight exploded into a brilliant, magnificent wave of golden warmth, lighting up the entire valley with a dreamlike, comforting aura. But as Pikachu and Vulpix cheered quietly at their success, one final mystery remained. Why had such a gentle, loving Pokémon run away from the royal ball in such a massive hurry, leaving her most cherished memory behind in the dark woods? Gardevoir smiled gently, revealing the true answer to the mystery. She had not rushed away from the ball out of fear, but to keep a promise to the tiny Deden and Wooloo living in her cottage. She had vowed to return before midnight to sing them a bedtime lullaby and tuck them in. In her hurry, her slipper slipped off, but her heart stayed focused on caring for her friends. The magical starlight expanded, wrapping the forest in pure comfort, showing that true magic comes from kindness and keeping promises. Clefable floated into the starry sky, scattering sleepy fairy dust over the treetops. Gardevoir carried Pikachu and Vulpix inside her warm cottage. Pikachu let out a deep yawn, curling under a soft quilt with Vulpix. As Gardevoir hummed a whisper-soft lullaby by the warm fireplace, Pikachu's heavy eyelids closed, his rosy cheeks giving one last faint spark as he drifted into sleep. Sleep tight, little Pikachu, and sweet dreams to you, too. Tap like and subscribe for more cozy bedtime stories every night.